Chris Duffin here, and I'm going to go through 5 of my favorite specialty bars. Why? Well, I'm an equipment designer and provide some of the most unique tools that are used in the market today for athletics. We're going to talk specialty bars because I'm a huge believer in specialty bars. There's nothing about like a straight bar that we have to use it for everything. And in fact, it causes a lot of issues because of that. And it's just something that's been a carryover because Olympic sports and straight bars have been around in that arena, and we just use them for everything. But they can create a lot of issues. So the first one we're going to talk about is this curved bar right here. This is the Duffin Low Bar. This is an old version that's bare steel, so it's got a little rust on it, but they don't come like that anymore. But what is great about this is the curve that's in this bar. So this does a number of things for you. So the first being, it reduces the external rotational demand on the shoulder. This puts huge stresses on the shoulder. Also the bicep tendon insertion in the shoulder. A lot of people have shoulder pain while pressing and may not realize that a lot of it is created by that straight bar and the stress that it puts on that insertion point that's in the shoulder. Most people think that this bar is just for squatting because it works phenomenal for squatting. This bar is a general purpose, basically all pressing variations and all squatting variations. This bar works phenomenally well. So it's just a great all-around bar. This is the Transformer bar, and it is the ultimate training bar for squats, without a doubt. It's the only bar in the world like it, where we can actually change where the load sits in space. And what that allows us to do is, because the load is always going to be above the midfoot, we're actually changing our spinal mechanics. We're actually allowing for spinal uprighting behind the bar. So with this bar, how we manipulate that load, so we've got 2 degrees of freedom. So one being rotation. So I can pop this off and change the rotation point where this bar sits. And I can also change the distance from center by popping sleeve into different positions. So basically anywhere in space in here, we can put the load, which allows, again, this uprighting and allows us to change the pattern of the squat. So this allows us to take anyone. So even our really long levered people that just have horrible form, can't get in position without compromising, we can actually have them squat perfectly and even do so with little to no coaching because we can actually cue this stuff to happen. A few things about this bar that also people may not realize is there's another curve inside the pad. So a lot of times these bars are used in a return to play situation, maybe post shoulder surgery, and will cause, basically, there's a lot of nerves that run through here, can cause denervation by pressing directly on it, where ours actually rolls over the shoulder. So this is used in physical therapy clinics, chiropractic clinics, post-surgery operation times, just all over the place. So this bar is used in so many places because it's 24 different bars in one, thus being called the Transformer bar. This is the Cadillac bar. Cadillac bar is what we call a neutral grip pressing bar. So instead of having our hands like this on a straight bar, we've brought it into a more of a neutral position for the shoulder, which is where it normally operates at. The only problem with bars typically designed like this is the handles are in line with the weight, and that creates a teeter-totter effect. We destabilize the wrist, okay? So if you train with a normal neutral grip bar, such as the ones over here in the rack, when you take them out of the rack, it'll literally want to come and crush your face. And then as you come down and touch your chest, it'll throw it out again. So that reason is the center of mass and the center of rotation where your hand is are on the same plane. This is just like a teeter-totter. If you walk into a playground, teeter-totter will always be sitting on one side or the other because it is an infinitely perfect spot that can never find true balance. What we've done here is take the handle and move it above the center of mass. This creates what we call something similar to a swing. I call this playground physics. With a swing, we have center of rotation up here and center of mass down here. And what happens is it always finds center. So we eliminate that destabilization of the wrist. Each handle here is also angled quite a little bit differently. They're not a true neutral, and they're all different because there's an arc that the shoulder operates on. As I go wider, the angle of my wrist is different. And so we've matched that. So pressing accidents that either happen during fatigue or max effort always happen when we lose our bias towards internal rotation. It could be AC joint issues, pec tears, rotator cuff tears. All of it happens when that happens. This creates an environment where we can't get out of position. We have all the joints and everything stacked in here. So it's going to significantly reduce pain for individuals that have pain while pressing and allow them to be able to now train with a greater range of motion. If you go back to a straight bar, it's going to feel like you're cheating because it's going to be so easy because you've actually training this chest through a range that is getting you much more development. And you're going to see a lot more enhancement of hypertrophy and strength using this type of bar. So now we're going to talk trap bars. Trap bars, a lot of people think are just deadlift bars, but they have become very popular for using in all sorts of athletic development over the last few years. We see this quite a bit with our collegiate and professional sport teams as well, where they're really using these things for carries, lunges, rear leg elevated split squats, all sorts of development. Again, you may get athletes that are using these for working on patterns like regular deadlift, maybe development of forearm, return to play situations, all sorts of variety of different needs from a grip standpoint as well. This is my favorite trap bar, the best trap bar in the world. We can also call it a neutral grip deadlift bar. So what makes this cool is the openness, your ability to walk in, one, eliminating a trip hazard, but also allowing us to do lunges, carries, rear leg elevated split squats, all these other movements by opening up the frame. Another cool feature is the unfortunate piece of trap bars is not being able to get the weights on and off without being in some sort of compromised position, because you can't use a deadlift jack with these. So this has a built-in jack system that is easy as that. You can put 1,000 pounds on here and it's literally that easy to change the weights. We also have interchangeable grips, so you can actually get different effect on the hands. This is a 1-inch grip, there's an 1.5 inches. This is a 2-inch grip, which can also be changed out so that it's rolling. So it's actually trying to spin on you to really train grip. So a huge level of versatility that is unparalleled by any other basically trap bar, neutral grip, deadlift bar in the world. Well, this one isn't a barbell. It's a really crazy effective tool. This is called the Triad by a company called Havoc. And it's a 3-handled, handle-based, handheld-based weight implement. So it can be used similar to a dumbbell. It can be used similar to a kettlebell. It can be used similar to a fat bell, which is a center mass bell, as well as some other functions. Let me show you what that means. I can reach through this thing, really dividing where the mass sits, reducing the strain on my wrist. Let's say I have a wrist injury. I could still be doing curls by slightly supporting this. I could do weird things because the weight sits on one side like this. As I lay down to press, there's actually a vector because the weight's pulling you out. So I'm not just pressing up, but I'm fighting it trying to pull me into a fly the entire time. So there's no rest at the top like a dumbbell would be, where you'd be in a stacked position. We're hitting this fibers in the chest nonstop. I could do drop sets with it. I'll actually have to grab a lighter one. Let's say I was doing side delt flies. This is challenging in the extended position. I could go to failure and then drop it to the inside. I've reduced the load. I can keep going. I could use this like a bottoms up kettlebell press. Okay, drop it to easier. Notice with the weight on the outside, the same thing with pressing, overhead pressing and bench pressing, a dumbbell, once you get heavy, the weight will actually limit your range of motion because the weight will run into your body. Where here I could actually push in position the weight outside of my body. When I'm doing any sort of pulling or curling type movement, the smaller hand grip is going to be the easiest. And then as I go to a larger, it gets harder and harder. But if I'm doing a pressing type variation, like this is now the easiest. And I can make it harder and harder. I can create some stability in the joint by centering the bell as well. There's just so many different plays. And with every single play that we talk about, there's 3 different variations that can be put in there. So from a movement perspective, there's just so many crazy things that you can do with this little product. Hopefully you've seen through this presentation that taking a step away and thinking about things beyond the typical straight bar or dumbbell, that you can apply a huge amount to improve the quality of your movement and reduce your injury risk while at the same time eliciting greater potential for both athleticism, strength, and hypertrophy. What more can you ask?